This is Chris Lee at Southeastern 14. Joining me today, one of my good friends in the media business. He's Andrew Hutchinson. He is now at bestofarkansassports.com. Did I get that right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, I'm mildly surprised I didn't botch that. But anyway, thank you for joining us. It's been a busy time for you. Arkansas had a crazy game last week, got a big one this week. Let's rewind last week, though. Arkansas had to feel like it just left an opportunity on the table.
Yeah, that was about as classic of an Arkansas Texas A&M game at Jerry World as you can get. They are always crazy, and Arkansas typically, with the exception of last year, finds creative ways to lose those games. And boy, they they added another chapter to that on Saturday with the KJ Jefferson trying to jump from the 30-yard line into the end zone. I don't know why he thought he could do that. I don't know if he thought he was Superman or what. Fumble. Then there's the wild return where the guy hands it off to a teammate. It ends up going 97 yards for a touchdown, and it seemed like that was all the break Texas A&M needed. And then of course Arkansas still had a chance at the very end, and bad snap, backed them up a little bit. You've got a super reliable kicker in Cam Little, who's been phenomenal for them since he came in last year, and he doinks a field goal off the top of the upright. Something most people, myself included, have never seen before. So very, very weird, but very, very Arkansas A&M, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I've argued that if you miss a field goal like that, you should get like 4 or 5 points because you could try a million kicks and not do that. But anyway, yeah, but I mean, you weren't even covering the craziest game in the SEC last weekend.
No, that Missouri game, I'm assuming is what you're referring to,
Yes.
was crazy. And I mean, and honestly, are Auburn fans really even happy they won that game? I mean, they probably wanted to
No.
lose so they could make a coaching change and go ahead and move on with it. But wow, I mean, I've never seen a team have so many chances to win a game like Missouri did and lose. And I mean, I covered the Chad Morris era. So I've seen
Yeah.
lots of crazy things happen. The Brett Bielema era at Arkansas, I've seen lots of crazy things. And that was, whew, that was something else. As you know, there's lots of sports writers that went to Missouri because they've got a great journalism
Yes.
program, including several covering Arkansas. And I gave them a hard time the entire, leading up to the Texas A&M game, just because that was something else.
That really was. Well, you've covered some crazy stuff. Let's talk about the crazy scenario in which Arkansas could beat Alabama. What would that look like? I mean, one thing I said, it's got to include a positive number in turnovers. Boy, the pass defense is an issue we could get into a while. But what is a realistic scenario for victory for Arkansas against Alabama?
I think the number one thing that has to happen is your superstars play like superstars. KJ Jefferson being the number one guy. I mean, he's your quarterback. You think about all the teams that have beaten Alabama through the years, which there haven't been many. I mean, even last year, I mean, Zach Calzada, say what you want about his overall caliber of quarterback play, but he played an unbelievable game against Alabama last year for Texas A&M. We've seen Deshaun Watson have incredible performances to beat Alabama. So I think you're going to need an incredible performance by KJ Jefferson, whether that's throwing the ball, running the ball, probably a little bit of both or a lot of both. To be quite honest, I think he's got to have an incredible game. He can't be diving from the 3-yard line, things like that. He can't be fumbling. This is 2 weeks in a row that he's actually lost a fumble. He lost one against Missouri State early on, where Arkansas kind of had a scare against an FCS opponent. So it's an issue, even though he doesn't throw many interceptions. I mean, he had an incredible touchdown interception ratio last year. Has one again this year, only thrown the one interception, and even that one wasn't his fault. The receiver tipped it up in the air, and the DB was able to come down with it easily. So, got to take care of the ball, as you said, positive turnover differential. And on the other side, as far as a superstar, Jalen Catalon's out for the year. He was probably going to be the guy she thought was the superstar at safety, preseason All-American. But now you've got a guy in Drew Sanders who, by the way, played at Alabama. So he's going to be extra motivated. He's a guy that actually started some last year for the Tide, got hurt, and then, Dallas Turner came in, and boom, next thing you know, he'd gotten Wally pipped and was out of the starting lineup, decided to hit the portal, ended up at Arkansas, and he's been unbelievable through 4 games. I think he's got 5.5 sacks, tied for the most in the country. I thought he was going to be good. Watching him during the spring, watching him during fall camp, I was like, okay, this Drew Sanders guy is going to be really, really good. I even said he was going to be better than Bumper Pool before the season,
Mm.
but I didn't think he was going to be one of the best linebackers in the country, like he's shown through 4 weeks. That's been a little bit of a surprise. But if he plays like he's capable and plays with his hair on fire, and they can get some pressure on Bryce Young, I think that's going to be huge as well. So to me, it's all about your superstars playing like superstars. Maybe another guy worth mentioning is Rocket Sanders on the offensive side of the ball at running
Yeah.
back. I think he still leads the SEC in rushing. Had a little bit of an off game against A&M. I think he only had like 60-something yards, but before that, he had gone for 100 plus in each of the first 3 games, including 150 plus in the previous 2. So if he has a good game, if Arkansas can move the ball on the ground, which easier said than done against an Alabama defense, then I think Arkansas is going to have a fighting chance.
But having said that, Rocket Sanders has been terrific. As you mentioned, their offensive line is grading out really well in Pro Football Focus. Ricky Stromberg's been there for seemingly forever. Seems to me like a realistic path. Like if you could control the clock, again, easier said than done, right? But Arkansas does run the ball well. It has a good offensive line. It has a running quarterback. To me, that third down conversion stat is going to be really, really, really big.
Yeah, and I think a key in having a good third down conversion rate is being in third and manageable. That's easy.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of obvious, but Arkansas. There's been some times when they've struggled on third down. It's because they run for 1 yard, they run for no gain, and then all of a sudden you're in 3rd and 9, and you have to throw the ball. That can make it a little bit challenging. I think KJ Jefferson is an excellent passer, probably an underrated passer because everyone talks about how big he is and how physical of a runner he is. He's very, very good passing the ball, but it's a lot harder to pass in 3rd and 9 than say if you're in 3rd and 4 and you have the threat of the run, you have the threat of the RPO. I think that would make things easier for Arkansas, and so you got to have success on. And that one reason Arkansas stalled out against Texas A&M. They scored on back. They had to punt on their first possession, then they scored on back-to-back drives. They were up 14-0 against the Aggies, and it looked like they were going to roll. Well, then the offense stalled out. I think over the next 6 possessions, I think they punted 5 times and had the fumble at the goal line. What was going on at that time was they were struggling on first down. They weren't getting much on first down, if anything. So really need to be better on first and second down so you can have more success on third down, stay on the field, burn the clock. And whenever your offense is out there, that's good because that means your defense and that secondary you mentioned earlier is not out there on the field because Bryce Young, last time I checked, is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Even though they don't have the same receivers as they had last year, I have a bad feeling that they're gonna have their way with that secondary.
Yeah, the thing that makes him so dangerous, he just puts the ball. They find the holes in the zones. He puts them right where he needs to put them. He didn't. I think he had a net of 0 rushing yards last year. He's over 100 this year. That's not really what he wants to do. But even last year when he wasn't running the ball, you could tell he was athletic enough. That's the problem with them is he's just so darn good. When you don't make mistakes and he doesn't make a lot, that's tough to beat.
I remember watching last year's game, and I was just, and I have a Heisman vote. And as soon as that game was over, I was like, yes, I know Arkansas's defense isn't the best, but I was like, that is the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he was incredible in that game, threw for over 500 yards. And, it's he there. I remember there's one play where he looked like he could run for a touchdown, and he just kind of sidearm whipped it over to a guy on the side, and then he took it in for the touchdown. So, I mean, it didn't. It seemed like he, as you said, was athletic enough to run and made athletic plays, moving, out of the pocket, things like that. But this year it does seem like he is running a little bit more. And Arkansas historically has had an issue with dual threat quarterbacks. I mean, I guess you could say most teams do because they're really tough to defend. But it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to do this. Arkansas's pass rush has been really, really good. I mean, they lead the country in sacks. but I think they're dead last. At least they were going in the A&M game in pass yards allowed per game. So quite the contrast there. It's all or nothing. So I'm very anxious to see kind of what kind of scheme Barry Odom draws up to try to slow down this Alabama offense.
Yeah, on paper, their issues in pass defense don't make sense to me. You mentioned the sacks thing. No, I know the Catalan injury was huge, and that has a big role in it. And he got hurt last year too, several games in. So it would be great to see him make it through a whole season. But I mean, Latavius Brini played a lot of snaps at Georgia a year ago. The pass rush, they've got Slusher back. Is there a scenario where scenario is not the right word? Is there a case that their secondary is a lot better than has been, or maybe not just secondary, but their pass defense is really a lot better than what it has shown?
I think so, and here's some reasons. So you mentioned Catalan got hurt in the first game, out for the year again, huge blow. And then Miles Slusher, also got hurt in that first game, had to miss a couple of games against South Carolina and Missouri State. Came back against A&M and made an immediate impact. I mean, that defense was immediately better with him on the field. He's your starting nickel. With him out and Catalan out, they had to really move guys around. Your top two backup safeties were now starting, one at nickel, one at safety, and their corners. They had another guy, Ladarius Bishop. He's out for the season with an injury suffered in week 2. He's a guy that I don't know. He wasn't going to start, but he was just going to be another guy that could help you in the secondary, give you another option. But he's now out for the year. They've had other guys dinged up, like in games where they have to miss multiple series in a row, or Dwight McGlothern got dinged up at one point. Jaden Johnson's been dinged up. Pretty much everybody in the secondary has been hurt at one point or the other, and it's really kind of hurt them. And then the other thing too is a lot of these passing yards that they're giving up, at least what I feel like, I haven't gone back and actually really crunched the numbers, but a lot of them they're giving up are yards after the catch. They're like, especially Missouri State with Bobby Petrino as their head coach. I couldn't tell you how many times they hit, a running back. They just kind of, snuck out into the flats, threw it to him, and then they missed a tackle that would have stopped them for maybe a 5-yard gain. And suddenly it's a 15, 20-yard gain. And there were so many plays like that. And there were also some plays like that in the A&M game. They were just finding holes underneath and making things happen. In the A&M game, there was a 2nd and 32 after a penalty and a sack. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a really good spot for Arkansas's defense, or a 2nd and 30. Well, all they do is they let Aniyah Smith run wide open underneath. He caught it about, 7, 8, 9 yards downfield, and he was able to get 32 yards, move the chains on 2nd and 30. That has happened so many times this year with this secondary. If they can shore up, obviously there's going to be some times where that happens. But if you can shore up the tackling, which is another thing they've really struggled with, and stay healthy, again, another issue that they've had, then I think they can be better. Are they going to be significantly better? Are they going to be one of the top secondary units in the SEC? No. But they can be better than the worst in the country for sure, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot with a few things here, but you do your homework, and I know you can handle it. Give me a storyline or something maybe in this game worth watching that we have not talked about.
Oh man, I think it's worth mentioning again. I mean, I talked about Drew Sanders a lot. I think he is one of the biggest storylines going in this game. But I really like Arkansas's pass rush from just multiple guys. They really hit the ball out of the park when it came to the transfer portal this offseason.
Yeah.
Jordan Dominic from Georgia Tech, which interestingly enough, you're going to have 2 Georgia Tech transfers on either side of the ball in this game, with Jordan Dominic at defensive end and Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back at Alabama. So that's an interesting storyline in of itself. But you got Landon Jackson from LSU has been really solid. Terry Hampton from Arkansas State. And then even some guys that you've had, since they, came to Fayetteville as recruits. I mean, Zach Williams, Cam Ball has been playing a lot in the interior. Isaiah Nichols, just the entire defensive line. That was a major question mark going into this season. and they've played really, really well. I'm anxious to see how they play against a team of the caliber of Alabama. So that's something that I'm anxious to see. And then maybe another one too on the other side of the ball is how well Arkansas's wide receivers can get open against Alabama's defense. This is last year Arkansas had some success throwing the ball, most of which was to Treylon Burks, and now he's with the Tennessee Titans. You've got a multitude of guys that there's not one guy that's the number one go-to receiver. You've got several different guys that could be a leading receiver at any given time. Matt Landers, a transfer from Toledo who began his career at Georgia, has had his moments, had over 100 receiving yards against Missouri State. Jaden Hazelwood obviously has been kind of the steady go-to guys, found the end zone a few times. Keytron Jackson has had some good moments. I'm forgetting all. I mean, Warren Thompson. Trey Knox as the tight end has had some good moments as well. He had a really good game against Cincinnati. So there's so many different options. Can a few of those guys consistently get open and give KJ Jefferson somewhere to throw the ball? That's something else I'm going to be looking for as well, because you can't just run the ball. You got to have some sort of threat to pass to open up that run game. So I'm anxious to see kind of how that plays out.
Have you made a public pick on this game yet?
I haven't. Before the season, I did. I picked Arkansas to lose. I have not updated kind of what my thought process is. I don't think Arkansas is going to win. I wouldn't be shocked if they do. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere in Fayetteville. It's going to be an awesome environment. I think Arkansas is going to come out fired up, ready to go. It's a little bit unfortunate that they didn't beat Texas A&M last week, because had they won, I think College Game Day would be here.
Huge.
Arkansas hasn't hosted College Game Day since 2006. I mean, it's been a long, long time. So that kind of went out the window with the doink off the upright. But it's still going to be an incredible atmosphere. And I think that the Arkansas feeds off of that. And I think Arkansas will be competitive. But I don't know if I'm quite ready to pick Arkansas to beat Alabama.
Health-wise, I mean, you went over some guys that have been banged up at various points. Who do you expect to play of key players and maybe not to play?
Honestly, I feel like they're about as healthy as they have been all season, because early on, the first few weeks, there was like someone else was getting hurt. I mentioned Miles Slusher is back. That's huge. Dominique Johnson, who ended last season as a starting running back, kind of a surprise breakout guy last year. He tore his ACL back in the Outback Bowl on January 1st, and he made his season debut against A&M. I think he had like 5 carries for 32 yards, something pretty solid like that. So he's back. I'm anxious to see kind of how he gets worked into the mix. They've got pretty much a 4-headed monster there at running back between him and Rocket Sanders, and then you throw in Rashad Dubinion, the true freshman. AJ Green is probably the backup guy right now. So they've got a lot of guys there. So anxious to see how Dominique Johnson fits into that mix. But other than that, I mean, pretty much. I mean, Catalon's out for the year. Ladarius Bishop is out for the year. Torian Carter, a defensive tackle, he's going to be out for most of the year, if not all the year. That was back. He got hurt during the spring game. So not really anything new on the injury front. They're mostly healthy, which is good news. You need all the bullets you can against a team like Alabama.
All right, rapid fire round before we leave. I'm going to give you some other SEC games and just tell me who wins.
All right.
Kentucky at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss seems to be playing really, really well right now, especially with it being in Oxford. I'm going to go with the Rebels.
Okay, A&M at Mississippi State.
I was really not impressed with A&M after seeing them in person. Again, it's Starkville, so I will go with Mississippi State. I think they're going to get that win.
LSU visits Auburn.
Again, Auburn is not very inspiring last week. I think I'm going to go with LSU. I think they're going to get it done.
And got to ask, because it's a conference game, Georgia at Missouri.
Well, I mean, I guess crazier things have happened, but I don't expect this. I don't expect this one to be particularly close. I think Georgia wins it, in the first half.
Yeah. Well, we had the same winners in all 5 games, so we'll see how that goes. Hey, Hutch, thank you so much for joining us. Tell folks about your coverage and where they can find it.
Yes, so I'm writing for bestofarkansassports.com. We're a free website, no paywall. So that's awesome. We cover all three major sports: football, men's basketball, and baseball. Baseball is my personal favorite, as Chris knows. But of course, it's football season right now, so that's going to dominate our coverage. Although there is a baseball scrimmage on Friday that they're opening up to the public, and it's going to be a big deal, fall classic. So I'll be hopefully all over that as well. And of course, you can also follow me on Twitter at NWA Hutch. So follow me there, and I'll be tweeting all of my coverage and stuff like that there as well. So lots of places to find me.
Yeah, you and I are both baseball fans first. I think that's one reason we get along so well. That
Yeah,
the fact that you're a very good dude. You're one of the best guys in the media business. So, Hutch, I've enjoyed our time. I have a feeling we will find an excuse to have you on again. Thank you for joining us today, and good luck to Arkansas this weekend. It's going to be a huge one, and I know you'll have it covered well.
yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. As I said, it should be a great atmosphere.
All right, we've got plenty more stuff coming up at Southeastern 14. Got some more videos to drop before the games start on Saturday, and we'll be doing some live reactions during the games Saturday when some of those are done. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.